with your Tuesday, May 28th morning wake-up call. We are starting the week here with a little bit of support. Most of that support is coming from wheat, which is spilling over a little bit into corn. We'll start with corn on this discussion here. Corn is up 3 here at the time of this recording. We did see new crop December corn reach back into the 490s, topping out at 493 last night. That is still an area where we expect major resistance, and it was seen again last night. So this has been multiple sessions where we've seen resistance right there in the 490s. So we would expect continue to see new crop cash selling in the 490s or hedging, or even speculators will step in the 490s, just thinking, hey, selling near $5 is a worthwhile shot to take quick profits as well. One important thing we do want to mention for corn here is that funds were sellers of 50,000 contracts on the Commitment Traders report. After seeing weeks of short covering, last week they went back to being fairly aggressive sellers. Perhaps they're selling here with the planting pace expected to pass 75%. And once we pass 75% today, trade will switch over to a more summer mindset. And we're starting this year with very solid subsoil moisture levels. So coming up with a heat and dryness yield loss conversation, that'll take some time. It can still happen. Obviously, it's very early in the year, but we're starting off with a solid amount of soil moisture, so it could take a while before any sizable summer weather concerns are seen. Switching over to the beans, given the fact that we do have a slightly clearer forecast, beans are lower. Beans are still affected by planting pace reports, as the bean planting pace today will not reach 75%. So the corn may be switching over to summer mindset starting this week. Beans, probably not until next week. Funds are still short covering in the beans. They bought 16,000 beans. So everything's still going right in line with what we've seen in that market. And as we mentioned for new crop corn, the November beans found resistance once again in the 1220s. That level has become just as reliable for expecting resistance as 490 has for corn. Now we'll switch over to wheat. That's where all the excitement was last night. A private analyst lowered their Russian wheat production estimate by 2 million metric tons. Russia last week said up to 1.5 million hectares of wheat was affected by the frost from earlier this month. Still no official numbers out of Russia as to what losses they're calling for. Quite often they tend to stay fairly quiet on such an issue, but the private analysts are quickly lowering their numbers. So as long as that continues on, expecting support here. Now, once the U.S. wheat harvest starts, and we are expecting some pretty strong U.S. harvest numbers, that could add weight, but we're still waiting on that. So for now, the focus remains on Russia, but let's just be looking forward and thinking that, hey, once U.S. harvest starts, this could be a drastic turnaround in news because strong yields will obviously attract some selling in wheat. Now let's flip over to cattle. The cattle on feed numbers were not too far off expectations. Placements came in at 94.2, while traders were expecting 93.3. So placements were a little high, but still at 94.2, not a number that we are expecting major influence from that today. Box beef did step back a little bit last week, but remains strong. Choice and select box beef together is at 612. And we know that the key resistance is 617. So it did step back from that 617 level last week, but not falling here. It only stepped back 2 days and at 612 with Packer profits at $8. Starting this week with Packer profits at $8, we can say that you can start with the assumption of a higher cash trade. We'll want to see show list and other box beef reports before making that call just yet. But we would say that Packer profits at $8 has shown to be strong enough to assume a higher cash trade in previous weeks. So we'll say for now, box beef doing well enough to still be positive cash this week. The question is, if it cannot take out resistance, the box beef, if it can't take out resistance, that raises some doubts about what cash could do 2, 3, or 4 weeks out. Last thing to mention in cattle here, they did buy funds bought 9,000 contracts of cattle. That is their largest buying week since early March. So funds may be starting to build a significant long position as well. We'll want to watch that over the next few weeks to be sure, but buying 9,000 contracts last week was a solid start. So that's what we have for everyone today. If you have any questions on what you've heard here, give me a call direct at 815-578-6159 and continue to check our morning wake-up calls.